Look at my presentation about AI-enabled ERP systems, more specifically, emerging cybersecurity risks, governance, and a unified risk framework. So what we'll cover today, we're going to talk about the problem, which is why traditional ERP risk models can't keep up with AI. Second, AI's impact on ERP, which involves automation, forecasting, and new operational value. Number three, which is new cyber risks, which include AI-specific threats and system vulnerabilities. Number four, which is governance gaps, which includes transparency, accountability, and oversight. A unified framework for number five that includes technical and organizational safeguards. And lastly, my findings and conclusion, which is based off of my evidence. Introduction. So AI is outpacing ERP risk models. Organizations are rapidly embedding AI into their ERP platforms to automate forecasting and processes. But traditional ERP models are built for predictable rule-based systems, and they were never designed to account for how AI creates new data or adapts or learns. So this creates a governance and cybersecurity gap that organizations cannot ignore. And then a figure to the right just talks about how there's been a 38% rise in attacks between AI systems between 2019 and 2021. So my research. So I have three guiding questions. The first question is, how do AI-enabled ERP systems create new risk pathways and vulnerabilities beyond traditional ERP models? The second is, how do modern cybersecurity practices complement existing ERP risk models to address AI-driven threats? And lastly, my third question is, what should a unified AI ERP risk framework include to mitigate technical and human error risks? So AI integration. I can confidently say that AI delivers real operational gains. This is from the figure of faster processing times from 30 to 40%, and this is across all businesses such as procurement, financial close, and supply chain. That deals with automation. And then there's also 55% of less unplanned downtime, particularly in industrial environments that use predictive maintenance. And these two figures just show how that there's been a new dependency added, and then there's new data ways to monitor processes. So cybersecurity, there's a new attack surface and new threats. So 15% of all AI incidents that are attacks are data poisoning attacks that can corrupt companies' data. 30% are larger enterprise attacks that surface from integration points and other data. And then lastly, I think it's important to say that 60% of all AI anomalies go undetected, and this is only in traditional ERP security control systems. So now I'm going to talk about the difference between static rules and adaptive AI. So traditional ERP models, they assume predictable and deterministic behavior. They're more static and rule-based. There's no mechanism for AI continuous learning, and they can't detect anomalies. On the far right, we talked about AI-enabled ERP reality. So these can learn and adapt over time. They're very dynamic, and they can evolve through different pathways. They require real-time oversight, and they can also diverge from their original intent of what was originally created. So governance and accountability. So oversight is not optional. More than 2.5, if you multiply the operational failures by 2.5, that's without any governance controls, and now those are all operational failures. And then also 40% of all compliance failures are linked to a lack of explainability. So effective governance really requires transparency and explainability, clear ownership of AI-supported decisions, governance committees and escalation paths, and lastly, documented audible AI decision logic. So from this, it kind of compares what's going on in the industry and what is actually needed to function. And my proposed solution. So it's my unified AI ERP risk framework. So there's two types of safeguards. The first one is technical safeguards, and this includes zero trust ERP architecture, security by design development, continuous behavior monitoring, AI-specific threat modeling, and encryption of data and model outputs. The other is organizational safeguards. This has to do with culture and the organization itself. So more specifically, it talks about governance committees and AI ethics leads, documented audible decision logic, AI-tailored incident response plans, security awareness and AI literacy training, and lastly, culture, like I stated before. So my results, I have 4 key findings. The first one is that AI creates new risk pathways. So this has to do with data flows and integration points that were studied on the attack surface. The second is how AI improves operations but adds dependencies. So there is faster workflows, but the integration that is possible is being followed through on because of even with the complexity that companies have to monitor. The third is cybersecurity practices mitigate AI ERP risks. So like what I talked about before, the zero trust architecture, it can cut probability by almost by 50%. So that's something very important to note as well. And then governance reduces operational failures. So human error incidents that involve structured training can be cut by almost 30%. And my conclusion. So from static controls to adaptive risk management, AI requires ERP risk management to shift from a static rule-based thinking to a continuous layered adaptive practices. And that's just a line of how AI actually behaves in the system. More specifically, AI creates new ERP risk pathways and dependencies. Modern cybersecurity practices mitigate AI ERP vulnerabilities. And lastly, governance structures are essential for safe AI ERP integration. So that's my conclusion. And then I think it's also important to note that this study only relies on published sources and qualitative content analysis. And here are my references from my presentation as well as from my paper. And that is the end of my presentation. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen. Thank you.